Now that our Versetta stone is installed and our flashing is finished, taped and sealed, we have to determine where our starter strip is going to sit. Now there's a few different ways. One, you can simply just measure up off of your flashing. If your stone is installed nice and level, you should be able to use that as a reference point. In this case, on this side of the building, we already have the soffit installed, so you can measure down from the soffit. You could use a laser, or you could use something as simple as the heel of your square to space your starter strip off of. There's multiple different ways to do it. In this case, because the soffit is installed, I like to measure down from the soffit, make a mark that I'm happy with, go to the other end, make a mark, snap a line, and then just confirm that that line is even. In this case, 3 5/8. A little while later, 3 5/8. So I know not only am I starting parallel to my soffit, I'm starting parallel to the stone. I'm getting close to the end of my run for starter strip, and when I measure for it, I'm going to take 4 inches off the length. Now that will vary depending on the type of corner you're using, but for the corner we're using, 4 is lots. Not only does it give me a little room for expansion and contraction at the joint, but it gives me lots of room to install the corner. I like to nail in a staggered pattern every 8 inches. Not always necessary to go 8 inches. Some people will say it's 12, but in a high wind environment, 8 inches typically works out better. Another thing to keep in mind when you're installing your starter strip, when you join pieces together, you don't want to have them butted tightly. You want to have at least a 1/4 inch between pieces just to allow for expansion and contraction. The nails should be centered in the nail slot, and whether you're hand banging, stapling, or using some type of siding adapter, centered nailed, and should be able to freely move the piece. So I have our control line or our reference line snapped around the entire building, and I can use this to set any elevation for any siding. It's just a great place to measure off of. Where this is a bungalow, I can also use the soffit and just measure down off of my soffit, 103 9/16. That's where I'm going to snap a line, as we've already done to install our starter strip. If this was a 2-story or 3-story building or some type of multi-unit, the control line or reference line would be more important and more useful, but it's a good habit to get into, and it's easier to measure down from this when you're getting started than all the way up.